Hello folks. If there was ever a time to use the Chaos Gate Demon Hunter's background B-roll, it is now. It is the Terminus decree. And it's controversial, to say the least. The Games Workshop have finally revealed, or kind of revealed, what the Terminus decree does and what it is. It's kind of shoddy writing the quality of the writing isn't great, that's what I'm going to say, but the actual context of it is very interesting, and I'm not sure how I feel about it, because on one hand, it takes away some of the mystery and mystique of one of the Grey Knight's best things, about what they had about them, the Terminus Decree. What is this thing? What does it do? It's on the Golden Throne itself, so it involves the Emperor, so what can they do to him? What is it there for? And taking away the mystique of that kind of sucks, right? And anything Games Workshop tends to touch in terms of lore tends to not be very good, right? Look at the Arcs of Omen, things like that, tends to be a bit Saturday morning cartoon, bit of nonsense, right? But on the flip side of that, it means the Grey Knights are getting some love in the lore, which is great. By the way, is it just me, or do Games Workshop really oversell how powerful the Grey Knights are? Let's read it together, shall we? Let's read the Terminus Decree together. Alright. Held in a simple wooden box that only the Supreme Grand Master may open, the Terminus Decree details the Emperor's final command to the Grey Knights chapter. The Master of Mankind can never be allowed to leave the Golden Throne, either return to life, reborn in another's body, or ascend as some kind of warp entity, and if he does, the Grey Knights must return him to his terrible duty. Indeed, they were created with this possibility of this event in mind, a task beyond the abilities of any other force in the Imperium. The decree offers no guidance on how such feats might be achieved, for it is neither a weapon nor a magic formula. Rather, the Grey Knights would themselves be the weapon on such a desperate day, one that would likely have to cut a path through the ranks of the Custodian Guard and many others to see its duty done. So in this video, we are going to go line by line through this and examine what the possibilities are, what Games Workshop are thinking, and maybe parse where they might be going with this, right? As a Grey Knights fan, you guys all know me. I'm well versed in Grey Knight lore. If there's anything about 40k that I know about, it's this, right? So let's jump in. Finally, I get to play in my own wheelhouse. This is going to be awesome. Alright, so held in a simple wooden box that only the Supreme Grand Master may open, the Terminus Decree details the Emperor's final command to the Grey Knights chapter. Okay, that's been known lore for a long time. The thing is, the Grey Knights don't really have a Supreme Grand Master right now because Khaldor Drago's lost in the warp, and he's been nuked out of the Grey Knight Codex, so he's no longer there, and whilst he's not killed off, as in, they haven't told us he's dead, they may as well. He doesn't have a model, he doesn't have rules. And they are either bringing him back in 11th edition to lead the Grey Knights in doing the Terminus Decree, or something to do with that, some world-shaking thing, or they're throwing him into Legends, and he's not going to be a part of the setting going forwards, and they're going to give the Supreme Grand Mastership to somebody else, and that person will go on and do something to do with the Terminus Decree. Make no mistake, Games Workshop have not written this in a vacuum. This will be there as a tester, right? It is a thing that is in the Grey Knight lore now, and it is showing the direction that Games Workshop are going in with the Grey Knights, and, that's pretty cool. The problem I have with this piece of lore is it smacks of Matt Ward. This is Matt Wardian lore writing at its finest. Even the language used, it's not a magic formula, It's like, dude, what? And the power level of the Grey Knight, let's just go on it, shall we? Let's go forwards. But that Supreme Grand Master part, it's either going to be Khaldor Drago coming back with a new model, or they're retiring him, throwing him into the warp, and he's never going to come back. He's killed off screen, like Yarick is, and he's just shuffled off into eternity. And we bring in somebody like Hyperion or something like that to become the Supreme Grand Master of the Grey Knights, mainly from the Fourth Brotherhood, maybe. I don't know, right? Or again, there's going to be a new guy coming in, and that's what they're going to do. And the Terminus Decree is going to define Grey Knight lore going forward in the next edition of Warhammer 40,000. All right, next, the Master of Mankind can never be allowed to leave the Golden Throne. That's a big line, right? But you know what that symbolizes? It symbolizes the fact that the Grey Knights are one of the last bastions of Grimdark. If you like Grimdark, You know, the Grey Knights are the ones who are keeping it grimdark. They're saying, yeah, you're not getting up from that throne. You're going to stay there. You're going to stay there. And do you know why I think the Emperor did this? I think the Emperor knows that if he ever does rise from the throne, he's not going to be him anymore. It'll be something else puppeting his body. I think the Emperor knows something we don't. As always in 40k, you know something we don't. So I think, quite frankly, this is going to be the Emperor saying, yeah, if I come back off this chair, it's likely not going to be me. And even if it is me, the consequences of me not being on the Golden Throne is not worth me coming back. It's a truly heroic act in that he's saying, no, I will continue to suffer. You need to make sure that I don't get up from this chair, right? Why he didn't tell the Custodian Guard that, I don't know, right? And I think that's where the deeper lore starts to break apart a little bit. But in terms of an ultimate heroic act of somebody saying, listen, I'm in perpetual torment, so even if I beg you to get me out of it, don't. That's your final duty, right? That goes hard, right? That goes hard. My panic here is we can see that Games Workshop are going away from the grim darkness of the far future, right? They're starting to make it more Saturday morning cartoon, starting to sidestep the more hard edges of the setting to make it more palatable for the mainstream. And I have a very horrible feeling the Grey Knights are being set up as the sacrificial lamb to get rid of the grim darkness in the far future or whatever, right? So the Emperor may come back in 11th edition, or something similar may happen in 11th edition, and the Grey Knight chapter is just wiped out. And yeah, they're no longer here. They're no longer in the zeitgeist. They're no longer in the game. They're gone, right? All your models are worthless, right? I have a very horrible feeling that that's where this is going. That this is setting up the fall of the Grey Knights when they try to enact the Terminus decree, which is their job because the Emperor's coming back, and they fail. They don't just fail, they're wiped out. And that gives Games Workshop the excuse to say, yeah, it's not Grimdark anymore, because the Emperor's back, and he's a really nice guy. Because the Star Child is back, right? Dan Abnett's already put the pieces in place with his Beckwin novels on the Star Child coming back, and of course the King in Yellow, who is Constantin Valdor, right? Constantin Valdor being one of the main custodian guard of all time. Like he's the big guy who's been fighting with the Emperor for a long time. And if there's somebody who wants the Emperor to come back by hook or by crook, it's going to be Constantin Valdor. So he is in direct opposition. Valdor is in opposition to the Terminus decree. In direct opposition. Okay? The forces that the Grey Knights are going up against to enact the Terminus decree are seemingly... It's a stacked deck. There's no way they're winning this, right? Games Workshop are doing one of two things with this. They're either lazily setting up the fall of the Grey Knight so that they can take 40k away from a grimdark future and more to a mainstream, haha, we're all Ultramarines, yes, battle brother, honourable battle brother, right? They're going down that route. And the Emperor's going to come back, and there's going to be lots of hope in the 41st millennium and all this sort of stuff. And they're going to build from that a huge zeitgeist of a IP, of an intellectual property that's going to, in their mind, dominate the sphere like Marvel has. Things like that, right? They keep saying things like that. We can be Marvel. We can do this. We can do that. Even Sir Ian Livingstone has said stuff like that, right? He's not even a part of Games Workshop anymore. He started the thing, but he's even said, yeah, that's their plan. They're going to be Marvel. They're going to be the next big thing. Well, you can't really be Marvel if you're this grimdark. Okay? I would argue you can be very successful and not compromise on any of your heritage, but you can't be Marvel if you're going to be this grimdark. I have a horrible feeling the Grey Knights are going to be sacrificed on the altar of getting rid of the grim darkness of the far future, bringing back a more hopeful Emperor, because the Star Child is now back. He is now inhabiting the Emperor's corpse, and he reanimates it, and we're all fine and dandy, and we're all singing Kumbaya, dancing around, things like that, right? That is my feeling of where they're going. Or, on the flip side of that, okay, this is simply Games Workshop not knowing how to write lore. It's either an ingenious thing to get rid of the grimdark future, or this is the Games Workshop writers not knowing how to write lore. In that this is not going to go anywhere. The Terminus decree is not going to go anywhere. What they've done is they've taken the Crone Swords and put them with Slaanesh. Do you know what I'm saying? They've given us a hard limit, saying, yeah, the Grey Knights need to enact the Terminus decree eventually someday, but it'll never happen. Why? Because they need to cut through all of the Custodian Guard, and they can't do that. So we put a power block on there. It's never happening, and we can all stop worrying about it now. And by the way, we've taken away one of the most coolest part of the lore of Warhammer 40,000 and explained it in a really lame way. Because we're Games Workshop, and that's what we do. We don't leave anything alone. We always ruin it. So there we go. Right? It's one of the two. It's one of those two things. That is the end goal here. I don't know which is worse. But hey, you know, you can make your own assumptions. Let's read on, shall we? Either return to life, reborn in another's body, or ascend as some kind of warp entity. And if he does, the Grey Knights must return him to his terrible duty. Again, a very heroic thing to do. And by the way, this piece of the lore leaves no stone unturned. It literally says, no, he's not coming back as a god. He's not coming back reborn in another's body or his own as the Star Child. It cuts off all avenues. So where, you know, we could say once, okay, maybe the Terminus decree is to stop him from getting up off the Golden Throne, but what if the Star Child comes back and orders him to get off the Golden Throne? That kind of a thing? Well, no. Now we know. No, there are no contingencies here. The only thing is that the Emperor's told the Grey Knights, in no uncertain terms, I am not to get up off this fucking chair. Ever. These cheeks don't move, right? There's no level of ambiguity there at all. And that's very rare in Games Workshop lore. This is why I think they're going somewhere with this, because it's very, very, very rare for them to give black and white. No, this is what this means, right? There's no ambiguity, no grey area. This is what this means. Indeed, they were created with the possibility of this event in mind. So that basically, what they've just said there is Malcador and the Emperor made the Grey Knights, yes, to combat demons, but their main duty was this. Was to keep the Emperor on the Golden Throne. Their main duty is that. That's all it is, according to this piece of lore, right? A task beyond the abilities of any other force in the Imperium. Again, Matt Ward writing. Matt Ward writing. The dudes I'm currently writing are the most extremely amazing, powerful force in the Imperium, bar none. Go suck my balls, right? This is Matt Wardian writing, and you know I love my Grey Knights, but I am not going to sit here and say they're the greatest force in the Imperium. One-on-one, they'll take on everything, I know. They will take on everything in the Imperium. Yes, hello, Space Wolves. One-on-one, nobody's a match for them, apart from two people. The Sisters of Silence, because it can shut down their psychic powers, and the Custodians, right? One-on-one, they're getting decked. They're getting wrecked, right? Everybody else, yeah, you are peons compared to Grey Knights. I'm sorry, that's what the lore says. It's literally right there in black and white, right? Alright, but this is still Matt Wardian writing to just blanket say, yeah, they're better than everybody else and they can do this, right? It's a task beyond the abilities of any other force in the Imperium. Unless there is a contingency here where the Grey Knights were created with the ability to, shall we say, mantle the Emperor's power, right? Do you know what we haven't seen in the lore, in my recollection, ever? A Grey Knight standing in the before the Golden Throne. We've never seen that. Why aren't they on Terra? Why didn't they move from Titan to Terra? To be right there, right next to him. There has to be a reason for it, right? I know they went into the warp through Michael Dor's machinations to hide from Horus, right? To build their numbers. But when they returned, why didn't they just establish a fortress monastery on Terra, on the throne world? Isn't that more important than Titan? Is there a reason for that? When a Grey Knight is in the presence of the Emperor himself, what happens to him? Okay, that might be the contingency that they get around this. When they've said there, it's a task beyond the abilities of any other force in the Imperium, is that what they mean? They don't mean the Grey Knights are more powerful than everybody else, including the Custodian Guard and the Sisters of Silence. What they mean is, when the makeup of the Grey Knights is such and so unique, that if they stand in the presence of the Emperor, enacting his will, they become the Emperor. Or they become like a tenth of his power, which is way beyond any Custodian, right? You know, do the Grey Knights become something different when they're on Terra, when they're in his presence, right? That would make sense. And that would be, oh yeah, they would cut a swathe through the Custodian Guard and not even break sweat about it, right? The decree offers no guidance on how such feats might be achieved, for it is neither a weapon nor a magic formula. Okay, so this is just making... By the way, bad writing. Don't use the words magic formula in 40k. It's shit. That's really, really bad writing. You know, arcane construct, maybe, would be a better way of putting it. Magic formula? That's some Age of Sigmar shit. Get it out. Don't want that, right? Anyway, all this is doing is saying it's not a physical object, right? The Terminus Decree is not a physical object, and it's not something the Grey Knights have to just switch on and go, yeah, we're now doing this, right? And nobody can touch us. I think this is hinting towards what I just said. Whatever the Grey Knights have from the Emperor is inbuilt. It's inbuilt. It's in there. It's in there. You know, it might be the gene seed, which again comes from the Emperor himself. Anybody telling you that it's from the Imperial Fists, tell them to go fuck themselves, because these are the same kind of people who looked at this really cool piece of lore and just started laughing, saying, haha, good luck cutting through the Custodian Guard, because they just hate Grey Knights, right? Grey Knights are the coolest thing in 40k, and you're a fucking beta if you don't think so. Like, that's just who you are, mate. That's just who you are. Like I'm sorry. You are A1. A1. Like, you literally, masculinity threatens you, mate. Like you're that kind of a person. You look at a guy in solid old silver armor who's literally a demon-killing knight in space, and you go, Matt Ward, all the time. That's all you do, right? That's literally you. So let's not go there, shall we? Let's not go there. I fucking hate people like that. It's just read the lore. Don't stop relying on memes to tell you things about this universe. Read the lore. And you will know. Dude, I'm sorry, we're the best. It just is what it is. Alright? Dude, I'm an Evertonian. Liverpool are better right now than Everton. That's just how it is. I just have to live with that. And if I've got to live with that, you've got to live with the fact that the Grey Knights will slap the cheeks of your fucking stupid beta chapter. They just would, dude. That's just how it is, right? The amount of people looking at the Terminus Decree and saying, oh, good luck getting past the Custodian Guard. Get wrecked, they're going to die. No, dude, there's something going on here. Alright? That might happen, by the way. As I said earlier, right? That they might be using the Grey Knights as a sacrificial lamb. But the thing is, if you're one of those people, the Grey Knights are the one people who are trying to make sure your setting stays the way it is. They're saying, yeah, no, the Emperor's staying on that fucking throne. He's staying on that throne. Things are going to remain grimdark. But you and your cretinous, celebratory way of like, oh yeah, I can't wait for them to all die. Well, if they do, mate, 40k goes with them. These are the stakes now. We can see in the Terminus Decree. We can see it right here. Those are the stakes now. If the Grey Knights lose, if they don't do this, 40k's gone. The Emperor comes back. Saturday morning cartoon. Everyone sings Kumbaya. Right? It's now a huge mainstream entity that will die a slow death because, you know, normies don't like 40k. They just don't, right? 40k fans like 40k. So yeah, we will be the good guys, no problem. We'll make sure the setting stays grimdark and it stays the setting you fell in love with. And if you hate the Grey Knights so much that you want to see them get wiped off the face of the earth, literally, even at the cost of your own fucking hobby, you're a dickhead. You should get in the fucking sea, alright? Cool. Moving on. Yeah, so basically it's not a weapon or a magic formula. It's literally something inbuilt, okay? I'm thinking the gene seed, because the gene seed is from the Emperor himself. I'm thinking it's that. I think it's something to do with their inbuilt makeup that is the weapon. This is the thing that will ensure the Terminus Decree can be done, right? They can just turn up on Terra, cut through anybody who gets in their way, and they can enact the Terminus Decree, sit that guy back down on his fucking chair, right? Okay. Rather, the Grey Knights would themselves be the weapon on such a desperate day. There you go. They've literally told you in the lore, right? A lot of people are stupid, especially on Reddit and Facebook, on all these groups. And they seem to think that, oh, this is just some Matt Ward stuff. No, earlier it was, but this is not. They're telling you point blank, there's something in the Grey Knight that sets them apart and allows them to do this. Their bodies are the weapon. They themselves, their makeup, their gene seed is the weapon. That's what's going to allow them to do this. I think in the Emperor's presence, they become something other. They become way more powerful than the Custodes, which is why they're never on Terra. Right? They're never around, right? Am I right in saying that even when Voldus was with Guilliman, he didn't go on to Terra? Like, he refused? He said something like, you know, oh, the sanctity, I'm not worthy to walk upon the hallowed ground of Terra or something like that, and he stayed on Luna, right? I swear to God, he didn't go down there. There's a reason for that, dude. I'm telling you. There is a reason for that. Something happens to the Grey Knights in front of the Emperor. In his proximity. That's top secret. Like, absolutely top secret. Anyway, rather, the Grey Knights themselves would be the weapon on such a desperate day. One that would likely have to cut a path through the ranks of the Custodian Guard and many others to see its duty done. Again, they're giving you a taste of the capabilities of the Grey Knights should this contingency come into effect. And I fully believe there's no smoke without fire. If they push forwards with this, as I just said, it's going to be one or two things. Number one, they're sacrificing the Grey Knights on the altar of progressivism, and we're going to have the Emperor coming back and a wildly different 40k going into 11th edition and so on, going forwards, through the Amazon deal, wanting to be more mainstream, right? So the Grey Knights will be obliterated, taken out of the lore completely, because they're killed by the Custodian Guard and the Sisters of Silence, and the Emperor comes back, la-di-da, kumbaya, everyone's happy, right? And, yeah, and whatever. Or, this is just really badly written lore. Or this is just lore that's never going to go anywhere. They've just revealed what the Terminus decree is to generate speculation among the fan base, and they've got no intention of going any further with it. Those are basically your two options, in my opinion, right? Let me take a quick sip of my drink here. Yeah, those are your two options. Is there a third option? There may be, right? There may be. There may be an option where the Grey Knights actually pull this off and they succeed, right? They go down to Terra and they fight the Custodian Guard using their upgraded powers from what the Emperor's given them, wherever it is, right? They fight the Custodian Guard, they cut through them, and then they, you know, keep the Emperor on the Golden Throne. If that happens, I will be absolutely beside myself with joy. Not because the Grey Knights are finally getting a win. It's not because of that, right? It's literally because 40k staying as it is. We kept the Emperor on the Golden Throne, and this seems to me like a crossroads. This is a point where Games Workshop can go one way or the other with this. It really is. This basically dictates where 40k is going to go, at least for me. Which is why Grey Knights are so cool. We're at the centre of it, and we always will be. We always have been. Right? If you're a Grey Knight fan, be proud of the army you represent, my friend, because you are 40k. You are Grim. You're the last bastion holding it together, right? When everything else is going Saturday morning cartoon, you're the one slaughtering civilians, right? And getting rid of entire populations because they saw a demon once, several hundred years ago, right? That kind of a thing. The Grimdark stuff, right? You're there. A lot of people said this is like kind of Grimdark. I don't think it is. I think if you read between the lines, as I've just said here, if you read the lore, again, you have to read. I know none of you people on Reddit can read, but like just, you know, you need to read the lore, as you've just done there. The answers are right there in front of your face. If Games Workshop go forwards with this, there are ways for the Grey Knights to cut through the Custodian Guard who are there. We don't know them yet, but they've literally just said there, the body of the Grey Knight himself becomes that weapon. It's the weapon to cut through and to do this one thing that they were always meant to do. I have a funny feeling it's going to be something like, Joe, that film Lucy, where the Scarlett Johansson, like, you know, she starts unlocking other parts of her brain that we never really have access to, right? She becomes more powerful. I think it's that. I think it's something like that. I think the psychic potential of the Grey Knights becomes so vast in the Emperor's presence that even the Sisters of Silence can't deal with it. It like blue shifts it, it overloads them. Like, okay, yeah, we can't stop them. Like, we literally can't stop them. We can see them for what they are, just big dudes in power armor who are just like, you know, they don't have any of those coronas and things, you know, all that sort of stuff. They see through all that, but at the same time, they can't do anything to stop them because they're just, you know, now they're in the presence of the Emperor, their gene seed is kicked in, and there's now like 1,000 Emperors walking around, that kind of thing. I think that's what we're going to get if they go down this route. So those are the three routes. The two main ones I think are most likely are Grey Knights being sacrificed on the altar of progressivism and, you know, changing the entire setting, or they're not going to do anything with it and this is just badly written lore, right? Those are the two options. The third one, which is far less likely, is this actually happens and the Grey Knights succeed, right? And you find out that the Grey Knights, oh wow, yeah, they've got this thing in their back pocket where if they're on Terra, they become this, like, ultra N times level threat to anything, you know, wanting to tear the Imperium down. You know? That would be very clever. You know? That would be very, very, very clever, in my opinion. Because now you have a reason why there's only 1,000 of them. Because if there was any more, and one of them did turn to Chaos and turn up on Terra, that would be very, very, very bad, right? There's only 1,000 of them. They're a normal Space Marine chapter, and they're always on Titan, because they can't be on Terra. They're only on Terra as the last resort. The last resort to keep the Imperium, because the Emperor knows whatever comes back from that throne likely won't be him anymore. It might be, but it likely won't be. And that's the tragedy of 40k, right? The Grey Knight's own duty, it might be the Emperor coming back and realizing, oh shit, yeah, I gave him that job, didn't I? Oh shit, yeah, I gave them my gene seed, and now they're all, like, as powerful as me. Oh. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's the ultimate irony. I would love a short story from the Emperor's point of view, of he's finally coming back, and then Drago just turns up and bitch slaps him and puts him back on the throne. Like, that's just... That's funny, right? It's grim, poetic irony, dramatic irony, right? We all know that no, Drago, don't do that. That's the actual Emperor. He's actually back. That's the actual Emperor. Don't do that. And then he does it anyway. He's like, no, that's my job, man. I don't know who this guy is. He might be a demon or something. Bang, headbutt, get back on there, right? Or he breaks his knee, he breaks his back again, like Horus did. Just picks him up, you know, and throws him down, right? Throws him down back on the thingy, back on the Golden Throne. Like, dude, there are ways to do this that would really be funny, and good. And it's kind of the dramatic irony of Lorgar writing the religion of 40k, of the Imperium, right? That kind of irony. The Emperor never wanted to be a god, well, now he is. That kind of irony. The ultimate irony is the Emperor does come back, and because of his own fear and him putting that contingency into the Grey Knights and him upping their power level to such a degree when they're in his presence, he comes back and they enact the Terminus decree. They go, yeah, back on the throne, dude. Oh, no, it's me, the Emperor. Yeah, that's just what a demon would say. Get back on the get back on the chair. That kind of a thing. And then they do. They beat the shit out of him, put him back on the chair. Right? And he's like, no! Like, just screaming in his own mind. You've doomed us all. And it's like, no. Right? That would be cool. I'd love that. That would be funny. Funny and tragic and dark. That's 40k, folks. It's funny, it's tragic, it's dark. That's 40k. Come on, lads. Come on. That's what I want to see, alright? That's the third option. It's not going to happen. I don't trust Games Workshop to do it. But what do you guys think? Do you think Games Workshop have pulled a blinder here? Is this good lore in your minds? Where do you think it's going to go? Do you think my three options are most likely? I think those are the most likely things to happen. The first two are a lot more than the third one, admittedly. But what do you guys think? Anyway, I love you all a long time. I will speak to you very, very, very soon for some more 40k Rantage and Hobby Nightmares. Have a good one. Bye now.